Shalom, and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Rabbi Beaton. We are reading today from the book of John, starting at chapter 18. John, chapter 18, verse 1. 1. When Yahshua had spoken these words, he went forth with his disciples over the brook Kidron, where there was a garden, into which he and his disciples entered. 2. And Yehuda also, who betrayed him, knew the place, for Yahshua oftentimes went there with his disciples. 3. Yehuda then, having received a squad of soldiers and officers from the chief Kohanim and Pharisees, arrived there with lanterns and torches and weapons. 4. Yahshua therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said to them, Who do you seek? 5. They answered him, Yahshua of Nazareth. Yahshua said to them, I am he. And Yehuda also, who betrayed him, stood with them. 6. As soon then as he had said to them, I am he, they went backward and fell to the ground. 7. Then he asked them again, Who do you seek? And they said, Yahshua of Nazareth. 8. Yahshua answered, I have told you that I am he. If therefore you seek me, let these men go. 9. That the saying might be fulfilled, which he spoke, of them which you gave me have I lost none. 10. Then Shimon, Kepha, Simon, Peter, having a sword, drew it, and struck the Kohen Hagadol's high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Melech. 11. Then said Yahshua to Kepha, Put away your sword into the sheath. The cup which my Av has given me, shall I not drink it? 12. Then the squad of soldiers and the captain and officers of the Yehudim took Yahshua and bound him. 13. And led him away to Annas first, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, which was the Kohen Hagadol high priest that same year. 14. Now Caiaphas was he which gave a counsel to the Yehudim, that it was expedient that one man should die for the people. 15. And Shimon, Kepha, Simon Peter, followed Yahshua, and so did another disciple. That disciple was acquainted with the Kohen Hagadol, high priest, and went in with Yahshua into the palace of the Kohen Hagadol, high priest. 16. But Kepha stood at the door outside. Then went out that other disciple, which was acquainted with the Kohen Hagadol, high priest, and spoke to her that kept the door, and brought in Kepha. 17. Then said the damsel that kept the door to Kepha, Are you not also one of this man's disciples? He said, I am not. 18. And the servants and officers stood there, who had made a fire of coals, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves, and Kepha stood with them, and warmed himself. 19. The Kohen Hagadol, high priest, then asked Yahshua of his disciples, and of his teaching. 20. Yahshua answered him, I spoke openly to the world. I always taught in the Qahal, and in the Beth Hamikdash, the temple, where the Yehudim always resort, and in secret have I said nothing. 21. Why do you ask me? Ask them which heard me, what I said to them. Behold, they know what I said. 22. And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Yahshua with the palm of his hand, saying, Why do you not answer the Kohen Hagadol, high priest? 23. Yahushua answered him, If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why do you hit me? 24. Now Annas had sent him bound to Caiaphas, the Kohen Hagadol, high priest. 25. And Shimon, Kepha, Simon Peter, stood and warmed himself. They said therefore to him, "Are not you also one of his disciples?" He denied it, and said, "I am not." 26. One of the servants of the Kohen Hagadol, high priest, being his relative, whose ear Kepha cut off, said, "Did I not see you in the garden with him?" 27. Kepha then denied again, and immediately the crier blew the shofar. 28. Then they led Yahushua from Caiaphas to the Roman governor's residence. And it was early, and they themselves would not go inside the governor's residence, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the protection, mercy, salvation, and Passover. 29. Platus then went out to them and said, "What accusation you bring against this man?" 30. They answered and said to him, "If he was not a criminal, we would not have handed him over to you." 31. Then Plato said to them, "You take him and pass judgment unto him according to your Torah." The Yehudim therefore said to him, "It is not lawful for us to put any man to death." 32. That the saying of Yeshua might be fulfilled, which he spoke, signifying what death he should die. 33. Then Platus went back into the governor's residence and called Yeshua and said to him, "Are you the king of the Yehudim, the Hebrew nation of Israel?" 34. Yeshua answered him, "Do you say this from yourself, or did others tell you this of me?" 35. Platus answered, "Am I a Yehudi? Your own tribe and the chief Kohanim have handed you to me. What have you done?" 36. Yahushua answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then my servants would fight, that I should not be handed over to the Yahudians, Judeans. But now my kingdom is not of here." 37. Platus therefore said to him, "Are you a king then?" Yahushua answered, "You say that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause I came into the world, that I should bear witness of the truth. Everyone that is of the truth hears my voice." 38. Platus said to him, "What is truth?" And when he said this, he went out again to the Yahudim and said to them, "I find no fault in him at all." 39. But you have a custom that I should release to you one at the protection, mercy, salvation, and Passover. Will you therefore that I release to you the king of the Yehudim? 40. Then all shouted back again, saying, "Not this man, but Yahushua bar Abba." Now Yahushua bar Abba was a robber. Okay, so this now brings us to the end of John chapter 18. So let's go back and have a look at some of the footnotes in John chapter 18. Okay, so the first footnote we have is in verse 6. As soon then as he had said to them, "I am he," they went backward and fell to the ground. Okay, let's have a look at this, fell to the ground. So many in churches fall backward. Falling backward is a sign of judgment and not a good thing. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 15. And Shimon, Kepha, Simon Peter, followed Yahushua, and so did another disciple. That disciple was acquainted with the Kohen Hagadol. Okay, so let's have a look at this. That disciple. So John, the son of Zabdi, he had important business relations with the people in the temple and took fish there. Okay, so that was John, the son of Zabdi, the other disciple. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 20. Yahushua answered him, I spoke openly to the world. I always taught in the Qahal and in the Abrahamic-Faith temple, where the Yehudim always resort, and in secret have I said nothing. Okay, so let's have a look at this. I said nothing. So Yahshua established the places of worship as synagogues and the temple, and not cathedrals and churches. In the absence of the temple, it is clear we build and establish synagogues worldwide. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 27. Kepha then denied again, and immediately the crier blew the shofar. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So see Matthew 26:34. Let's have a look at Matthew 36:24. So it's Matthew 26:34, and it reads, Yahshua said to him, verily I say to you, that this night, before the crier blows the shofar, you shall deny me 3 times. Okay, so we have a footnote for shofar, and it reads, this was not a rooster, but it was a man who was the watcher, who would blow the shofar from the Abrahamic-Faith, the temple, during the feast. And this is what is meant here. Many manuscripts wrongly have cockcrow. Unfortunately, most have run away with the Yashraeli chicken. The similarity is presented in Ezekiel 33:6, while scripture is clear on watches during the night. See the notes on the different watches, Exodus 14:24, Judges 7:19, and Lamentations 2:19. See solid proof that the Hebrew people had their own watchmen in Matthew 27:65. Okay? So it's talking about the watchman blowing the shofar. So at the time, Israel had watchmen, and it wouldn't have been the cock crowing, it would have been a watchman blowing the shofar. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 28. Then they led Yahshua from Caiaphas to the Roman governor's residence, and it was early, and they themselves would not go inside the governor's residence, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the protection, mercy, salvation, and Passover. Okay, so let's have a look at this, salvation and Passover. So we have here, why would they not go inside the residence? The reason is that Gentiles buried their loved ones inside their homes, and so therefore the Hebrew people could not in no way go inside and get defiled and not be able to keep the Chag, the celebration. Okay? So basically, if you were defiled by a dead body, you basically be unclean for 7 days. Okay? So this is why they didn't want to go into the house. Obviously, they would be defiled and not be able to keep the celebration. Okay? Of Passover. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 31. Then Plato said to them, you take him and pass judgment onto him according to your Torah. The Yehudim therefore said to him, it is not lawful for us to put any man to death. Okay, let's have a look at this. It is not lawful to put any man to death. This does not mean that the scepter had departed, as per Genesis 49:10. Okay, so let's have a look at Genesis 49:10. So Genesis 49:10, and it reads, "The scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between his feet to witness Shiloh, and he comes to receive homage from the people." Okay, so we have a couple of footnotes here. Nor a lawgiver. So let's have a look at this. So Judah is the lawgiver, and when the Messiah comes, Judah will keep the scepter, but the people of the tribe of Judah will then be in submission to Messiah, since King David will also be resurrected. Then he will either be the Messiah himself or in co-regent. One candidate for the Messiah is Daniel, the prophet, or one in likeness of. Okay, so we have another footnote here. To witness Shiloh. Okay, so let's have a look at this. The prophecy of the coming of King Messiah, Yahushua, and that the Messiah was to come from Yehuda, from the tribe of Yehuda. All the Hebrew Targum places this prophecy to the Messiah. The Hebrew word shevet is here translated scepter, and can also be translated branch, rod, or tribe. The ancient word for ad is to witness. At the high level, they apply to the ultimate rule of King Messiah. Yeshayahu 11:1, Tefillin, Psalms 23:4. At the Remez, this shows that Yehuda will hold a distinct position in the 12 tribes and will not disappear as an identifiable entity, and will appoint and rule until the king comes. Since the 10 tribes were rebellious, as are many Christians today, towards the Torah, it also shows that Yehuda will remain closely aligned with Torah and will be, so to speak, legally in charge of how things are conducted. Next time you cry legalistic, be careful. It is inbuilt in this prophecy by Yahweh. The word for lawgiver, makakok, can easily be applied to this tribe in the Peshat. Understanding, and we see Yehuda was to come back to the land of Israel first, and they did in small numbers only, while the 10 tribes are still out there. The Ashkenazi are not true children of Israel, but converts. The 10 will return with teshuvah, repentance, towards the Torah of Yahweh at the appointed time. Tefillin, Psalms 78:67 confirms this view. Moreover, he refused the tent of Joseph and chose not the tribe of Ephraim, the 10 tribes, but chose the tribe of Judah, the Mount Sion, which he loved. So, did the Messiah fulfill the role of Shiloh the first time? The answer is no. Shiloh means to have peace and tranquility, but the Messiah, Yahushua's first mission, was to ratify the new covenant that Israel broke at Mount Sinai, and to bring redemption to the scattered tribes. So Shiloh, the king who will rule, gather Israel and reign with peace, has not yet happened and is still yet future, since the majority of Israelites of Yehuda are still out of the land. So when Yahshua returns, he will indeed return as the ruling king. The Midrash Rabbah, Genesis 98:8, until Shiloh comes. This refers to the King Messiah. and the obedience of the people be his. He will come and blunt the teeth of the peoples of the world. The Midrash Rabbah, Genesis 99:7. Until Shiloh comes, the one to whom the rain belongs, and the obedience of the people be his. He around whom the nations gather, as it is stated, the root of Yeshai, Jesse, that stands for a banner of the peoples. To it shall the nations seek. Yeshayahu, Isaiah 11:10. Okay? So, let's have a look at some of the footnotes there, or some of the other scriptures. So we've got Yeshayahu 11:1. Let's have a look at that. Yeshayahu 11:1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Yeshai, Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. Okay, so we have a footnote for branch. So the footnote reads, the branch, the title to the future king and Messiah. This is Yahushua. Okay. So let's have a look and see if there's anything else. So we also have Yeshayahu 11:10. So let's have a look at that. 11:10 quickly. And in that day there shall be a root of Yeshai, Jesse, which shall stand for a banner of the people. To it shall the nation seek, and his rest shall be glorious. Okay, so we've got a footnote for glorious. And it reads, the Gentiles are Ephraimites, and as stated categorically by Hosea, they are from Muslim nations. Okay, so let's have a look at the next footnote. Which is in verse 37. Platos therefore said to him, are you a king then? Yeshua answered, you say that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause I came into the world, that I should bear witness of the truth. Everyone that is of the truth hears my voice. Okay, so everyone that is of the truth, let's have a look at this first. Everyone who believes the Torah, for which the idiomatic expression for the truth is used. Okay? So everyone who believes the Torah, for which the idiomatic expression for truth is used. Okay? So we have another footnote, which is a continuation. That is of the truth, hears my voice. So let's have a look at this. Here's my voice. So my voice is an idiomatic expression for my Torah, or the voice of Abba Yahweh. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 39. But you have a custom that I should release to you one act, the protection, mercy, salvation, and Passover. Okay, so, but you have a custom. So let's have a look at this. So this is not a Hebrew custom or one from the Torah, but this was introduced by the Romans to appease the Hebrew people and to look for favors from them. Okay? So this was not a custom, it was something, it was introduced, by the Romans to appease the Hebrew people and to look for favors from them. Okay, so that now brings us to the end of John chapter 18. So I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. This is Rabbi Beaton saying thank you for watching, and shalom shalom. Baruch Shem, Kivad, Malkuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Benevolent be the name of his esteemed kingdom, forever and ever and ever. Amen.